In the NFL, your future can change overnight. One bad draft, one bad contract, one superstar quarterback can completely change the trajectory of a franchise. Some teams are built to dominate the league for the next decade. Others have a Super Bowl window that's about to slam shut. And a few franchises are heading straight for disaster. So today, I ranked every single NFL team based on their future, from teams with dynasties ahead of them to teams whose future look completely hopeless. Before we start ranking teams, let me explain the tier I'm using for this list because not every team's future is the same. Starting with as long as he's under center. These are teams whose future is completely tied to a generational quarterback. As long as the player is starting QB, the team will always have a chance to compete no matter what the roster looks like. Window built to last. These are teams that have young cores, strong rosters and front offices that have positioned them to compete for championships for many years. Next is, there is a window, however it will close soon. These teams are contenders right now, but aging players, cap issues, or roster turnover means their Super Bowl window probably won't last very long. Ascending timeline. These are teams that aren't true contenders yet, but are clearly moving in the right direction with young talent and improving rosters. After that, we have QB away. These teams have strong rosters, but are missing the most important position in football. And if they find the right quarterback, they could immediately become contenders. There's something there. These teams have a few promising pieces or a young foundation, but they're still far away from competing at a high level. And finally, future is bad. This is self-explanatory. These are teams with no future. Asian rosters, poor cap situations have no clear direction for their future. With all that being said, let's start ranking every NFL team based on their future. Starting with the Saints. The Saints are going to go into there's something there. If you had asked this question a year ago, I would have put the Saints instantly in the future is bad category. As their coach just retired, they were in cap hell and came off a season where they had fired their head coach. Now, at a minimum, there is something there in the future for the Saints team. They have a good O-line led by young tackle Kelvin Banks Jr., but a solid rookie year. If Tyler Shook could build off his strong rookie season, there's something there with the Saints team. There is still in cap hell and have aging vets on this roster. However, they just need to continue to build through a draft. They have 3 picks in top 100 in this year's draft. The Dolphins are going into future is bad. The Dolphins hit the nuke button. New head coach Jeff Hafley is overseeing the total fire sale. Big questions marks his QB as they just released Tua, and he's taking on it. Hefty cap hit. $100 million these next 2 years. They traded Minka. His QB drafted just Fernando Mendoza and friends. I have no idea what their answer is this offseason to replace Tua. There's a reason why GM Chris Gier was fired this past season. They're going to have over $100 million in dead cap hit, a bunch of aging talent, and many holes on this roster. Missing on your draft picks in the past doesn't help as well. And last season, they turned down the golden opportunity to trade Jalen Waddle for a 27th first. A first in a generational draft class with a voted QB. They have 8 picks to Shrav with 5 in the top 100. They're clearly signaling that they want to tear it down, trade all these aging vets, yet young and built through the draft. Ravens are going into it as long as he's under center. Lamar Jackson is the ultimate floor raiser. However, the 2025 season proved that he can't outrun a collapsing pocket and struggling defense. The team has fired longtime head coach John Harbaugh, and I loved who they replaced him with Jesse Better. This team needs to maximize Lamar's prime, which I feel like they're doing by bringing in Declan Doyle, who I love as a hire for his OC. They need to re-sign Tyler Linderbaum. They traded 2 firsts for Max Crosby. Please give Lamar an actual wide receiver. We saw what he looked like last year with the injuries, and I feel like that's the glimpse of the player he will be when he loses his athleticism. The Ravens need to maximize on this window right now. The Bengals go into as long as he's under center as well. If it wasn't for Joe Burrow, this team would easily be in future as bad, because remove Joe Burrow from this roster and this Bengals team isn't elegant. And we saw that last year running this time. They missed the playoffs for the third straight year in a row. Zach Taylor somehow still the head coach. Just total malpractice all around from the Bengals organization, wasting away a generational player. The Bengals organization has continued to whiff on their first-round picks, drafting Daxon Hill, Miles Murphy, Amarius Mims, Shamar Stewart, all these guys who are labeled as project players. Guys were high upside, not win-now players who could contribute at all. And there's a reason why this defense was generationally bad last season. They've whiffed on managing their cap, as 44% of it is just tied to 3 players, due to waiting on the last minute to pay their best players. Joe Burrow's 29. The Bengals are wasting their biggest player in franchise history. We saw what he could do with a solid defense in 2021 and 2022. Next up is Denver, and Denver is going into window built to last. This team was robbed of making the Super Bowl due to that Bo Nix injury. They could have easily made it had Bo Nix been healthy for that game. Despite that, the Broncos have built a roster that will be contenders for several years to come. This team has completely turned it around. Both ripped the Russ Walls to trade disaster. They've built a great squad that serves for both sides of the trenches. This past season, the Broncos D-line had 68 sacks, which is tied for 5th all-time. An amazing D-line that contains Nick Bonito, Jonathan Cooper, John Franklin Myers, and a steal they signed in free agency a couple years ago, Zach Allen. The secondary consists of Pat Surtain, who's the best corner in the league, and Paunoa Hufanga, who finished as a second-team All-Pro last season. The offense is led by the #1 ranked offensive line according to PFF, which has led 2 first-team All-Pros in Garrett Bowles and Quinn Marinez. This team is a legit wide receiver 1 from having the lead offensive team. Bo Nix is a solid QB who will be in Denver for a while. They have 3 picks in the top 100 in this year's draft. The Giants are going to go, and there's something there. The Giants' record since 2020 has been 36-68-1. They've picked in the top 5 4 times, which includes this draft. However, the reason I put them here is because of the John Harbaugh hire. I love the John Harbaugh hire despite the coordinators he brought in. I believe there's something there with Jackson Dart, who statistically was the best rookie QB last season. If the Giants can coach him to stop taking hits so that he can stay on the field, he can take another leap next season. I like the offensive trio of Dart, Scatterbro, Malik Neighbors, as well as Andrew Thomas protecting his blind side. This defense has a ton of promise in it, is specifically the defensive line with Brian Burns, who is coming off an All-Pro season, Abdul Carter with a strong finish season, and Dexter Lawrence, one of the best interior linemen in the league. The foundation is there, and I'm excited to see what this team does. You have 3 top 100 picks with 7 draft picks. Vikings are QB1. They're going to be the most talented team in this year. They won 9-8 last season with terrible QB play, probably the worst in the league. Vikings QB threw for 18 touchdowns, 21 interceptions. Justin Jefferson had his worst year as a pro so far. That's saying something, because you know how bad you have to be as a QB room to make Justin Jefferson look average. JJ McCarthy, aka 9, looked really bad. Though he ended the season on a strong note, the Vikings at least need to bring in a legit backup QB if they want to compete. Defense is still elite, and this is a talented offense. They're just missing a QB. The Rams go into, there is a window, however it will close soon. The Rams are the most interesting team because they are all dependent on how Matthew Stafford plays and how long he plays for. They're coming off a season where they made the NFC Championship game and would have won the Super Bowl if they made it. However, the defense sold Matthew Stafford's best season in which he won MVP for. This team had 2 first-round picks this year, who started to use 1 to trade for All-Pro corner Trent McDuffie. You have 7 picks, just 1 in the top 100, which is first from the Falcons trade. The Rams have absolutely crushed the draft throughout these past couple of years with players like Byron Young, Jared Verse, Brayan Fisk, Blake Corum, Steve Avila, Kobe Turner, Puka, and Kyren Williams, which have helped this team compete after a year from hell where they went 5-12 after winning the Super Bowl. Their window will last as long as Matthew Stafford continues to play, and how long he plays, and how well he plays. The Buccaneers are going into, there's something there. This Buck team has talent. This Buck team, in my opinion, has the talent to be deep playoff contenders. However, poor coaching held the team back. I don't know, honestly, what the future of this Bucks team is, especially if it's with Todd Bowles at head coach. They started the year 6-2 and finished 8-9. Baker looked like a sleeper MVP, then struggled down the stretch. The defense was mad. The offense struggled. However, like I said earlier, there is a lot of talent on this roster, especially offensively. They will most likely lose Mike Evans to free agency this offseason. I don't know the future of Chris Godwin, who didn't have a good year last year. Yet, they have Ibuka, who flashed a lot of potential as wide receiver 1 in the first half of the season. I like Jaden McMillan as the wide receiver 2 of the future. Your line is solid, and I like Bucky as a hard human. The defense has some pieces to it, what just holds this team back is coaching, and it's wider and knows to see it. The Lions. There is a window. However, the window is starting to close. Throughout the past couple of years, the Lions have been the poster team for building to a draft, and it's the reason why they have a current Super Bowl window. They are also about to become a case study in the success tax. They've drafted so well that they can't afford to keep everyone. The Lions aren't just a team with a window, you're a team trying to keep the window from being slammed shut by the salary cap. Listen to this run. From 2021 to 2023, they drafted the core fourth of rebuild. Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Aiden Hutchinson, and Lee McNeil all have signed massive extensions. They've also drafted Kirby Joseph, Jamison Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta, and Brian Branch. Hutchinson just reset the market with a $180 million deal, making him the second highest paid defensive player in history. All of these players I've listed are all pro/Pro Bowl level talents that will need to be paid big time. Penei and Amon-Ra are on big deals. Gibbs will 100% be getting a big round contract. This is where it gets brutal. Because to keep the core together, the Lions are going to have to let the culture setters walk. They just released their left tackle. Alex Anzalone is a free agent, and it's likely too expensive to bring back. And the team also traded David Montgomery. It's soon going to be now or never with this roster that will be expensive and lose talent down the line. They have 8 picks this draft, with some extra from the David Montgomery trade. The Bears. The Bears go into window built to last. Ben Johnson has come in and completely turned around this Bears team. And the year they went 11-6, despite an 0-2 start, won the division and nearly made the NFC Championship game. The offense is going to be a problem for years to come. Caleb Williams, who I believe will make another leap year 3. Colston Loveland, Roma Duvze, who I believe will break out as well next year. Paul Manungai, Luther Burden II, and a number 3 ranked O-line last year. This defense has the pieces, especially with a solid secondary. However, it needs a pass rusher to be dangerous next year. I love this Bears team. They've already moved off DJ Moore, who I anticipated they would deal this offseason, and they need to maximize this rookie window they have with Caleb Williams. The Bears will definitely be contenders for years to come. The 49ers. There is a window, however, theirs is going to close. This window for the 49ers to contend will close fast after paying Brock Purdy his massive contract, which begins this season. CMC is 29 and agent. Trent Williams is 37. George Kittle is 32 and just sore his Achilles. Warner's 29, coming off a massive injury as well. The team has 10 players with an annual average salary of $50 million or greater. Ayuk is 100% getting cut, which shares a $29 million dead cap hit. They need to start hitting on these draft picks and continue to build depth on a star-loaded roster as this Super Bowl window is fast closing. The Eagles go straight into a no-build to last. Ty Roseman is the best GM in the league, and there's a reason why he is. He built an all-star level roster and has built into transfers. There is a reason why the Eagles dominated Super Bowl 59 and harassed Pat Mahomes all game. Since 2020, they've drafted key players like Jalen Hurts, Devonta Smith, Milton Williams, who's a part of the Super Bowl team, Landon Dickerson, Jordan Davis, Fleece Tennessee in the A.J. Brown trade, Cam Jurgens, N'Kobe Dean, Traylon Carter, signed Saquon and Zach Bond in the 2024 offseason, who are key contributors to the Super Bowl team. Drafted Quinyon and Coop, who turned the secondary around in that Super Bowl run as well. In this past draft, they drafted who looks like to be a steal, Jahad Campbell, who showed great promise as a rookie. The Eagles are one of the model organizations on how to build a roster. The one thing that will stop this team from winning even more is coaching. The Raiders, there's something there. They're strictly here because they have the #1 pick, and they have pieces here with new head coach Glenn Kubiak. However, there's a reason why the Raiders have the #1 pick, because of how poorly they've drafted. Since 2019, these are the bus. Cleveland Farrell, Jonathan Abram, Trayvon Mullen, Damian Arnett, Ruggs. Though Ruggs looks hard in his second year before the incident, we should have never been drafted over Lamb. Alex Leatherwood, Tyree Wilson, and Michael Mayer all misses 0 hits. When you draft like this, there is a reason why you're picking #1 in this year's draft. All but 2 players are no longer on the Raiders. However, due to them having the #1 pick and being able to draft the best QB prospect available, there is something for this Raiders' future. They have a great running back in Ash Shanty, the best tight end in the league in Brock Bowers. However, they have an awful line, and their entire defense, which was Max Crosby, was frustrated. They have 9 picks, 4 in the top 100, with an extra first for the Max Crosby deal. They have a decent foundation to rebuild this roster. Packers are going into a window built to last. The Packers last season was derailed by injuries down the stretch, as early on this team looked like they would win the division and make the Super Bowl. They blew the Bears' wildcard game that they should have won, was the youngest team in the league last season. Jordan Love is a top 10 quarterback. Josh Jacobs is an underrated running back despite having a down year last season. I love the Micah Parsons trade for them. The receiving room is solid. The O-line in the corner room needs work. However, besides that, I believe as long as Mike is healthy and ready for week 1 next season, this team can be legit Super Bowl contenders. They have 8 picks this draft despite not having a first-round pick due to the Micah Parsons trade. The Commanders, they go into ascending timeline. A year ago, I would have put this team straight into the window built to last year. They just had made the NFC Championship game, powered by arguably the greatest rookie quarterback season we've ever seen. But now, I'm moving them down to ascending timeline. It's unfortunate because this roster was artificially accelerated. Washington entered the season as the oldest roster in the league after trading away draft capital to bring in aged veterans. That's what happens when you miss on draft picks for years. The bill eventually comes to you. Injuries and a bad defense caused this team to flip from a 12-5 record to 5-12. Ron Rivera's tenure left his roster thin at premium positions, especially when you look at top 100 picks from 2020 to 2023. Chase Young, still talented, but the torn ACL essentially derailed his Washington tenure. Antonio Gibson, solid player not French, has alternate. Jamin Davis or Christian Darrisaw, a massive potential miss. Benjamin St-Juste and Diami Brown over Nico Collins or Amon-Ra St. Brown. That one hurts in hindsight. Then, the real damage from 2022 to 2023. Hear me out. They traded out of the number 11 pick down to pick 16 for absolutely no reason and traded the pick to the Saints, knowing that they needed a YR, which was our biggest need at the time. We missed out on Chris Olave, Kyle Hamilton, Jameson Williams, and drafted Jahan Dotson, no longer on the roster. Took Darian Mathis, who wasn't even a major need, over players like Trey McBride, Cam Jurgens, or James Cook. Drafted Brian Robinson, who is no longer on the roster, and I forgot to mention, Darian Mathis is no longer on the roster as well. In 2023, we took Emmanuel Forbes over Christian Gonzalez, the defensive version of Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson. He is no longer on the roster. Quan Martin allowed 821 yards and a 118 passer rating last season. Ricky Stromberg was cut after 1 year, even though in 2024 they selected Drazon Newton while passing up on Cooper DeJean and Kamari Lassiter. I'll excuse this one because Newton still has upside. When you consistently miss like this, you're forced to patch holes for veterans. Then Jaden Daniels plays so well as a rookie that he accelerates the timeline. But the roster underneath isn't built for a long-term window. The Commanders have 6 draft picks, only 2 in the top 100. If they truly want to capitalize on Jaden Daniels' rookie window, they have to hit on those picks and have to spend well, as they have $71 million to spend this offseason. This isn't our stable window anymore. It's a race against sun. The Cardinals are going into the future in bad year. Jonathan Gannon era ended abruptly after a 3-14 campaign in 2025. Now in 2026, Mike LaFleur has been brought to pick up the pieces, but he's walking into a roster with a live question marks. I wholeheartedly believe that this roster isn't bad. It's just a coach and a QB away. However, with a bad QB draft, the Kyler Murray situation, who will not be on the team next year, who's their signal caller for the next 5 years? You have the number 3 pick in this year's draft, along with 2 top 100 picks. Steelers are going into future with that. What is the direction for the Steelers? Too good to be bad, too bad to be good. What direction will the Steelers head in? Are they trying to compete as they hired Mike McCarthy, who is a high floor, low ceiling head coach, when they could have easily gone the younger route and hired a younger head coach and finally rebuild? It seems like they're going to run it back with Aaron Rodgers. They are the second oldest team in the NFL with an average age of 27.78 years old. 18 players over the age of 30. The defense is expensive and aging, as TJ Watt, Jalen Ramsey, Cam Hayward, who are all on big contracts. Rather than maximize the value they can get in return of these players, they continue to chase the mediocrity route. On the bright side, in this year's draft, they have the most picks with 12 and 5 in the top 100. The Bills are 1-2 as long as he's under center. As long as Josh Allen remains under center, as a Buffalo Bill, the Bills will always be premier contenders. Year in, year out, this team has always been so close to reaching the Super Bowl, yet failed to make it. It was a very stupid decision for them to fire Sean McDermott, especially just replacing him with Joe Brady. Honestly, this is another team with a window that's fast closing, only here because of a generational quarterback. The owner chose to promote the guy making these poor roster decisions. When you have a generational QB like Josh Allen, you need to do a good job drafting, especially with your top 100 picks. These are the guys that can get you production on cheap contracts, and they've whiffed on those picks. Top 100 picks didn't contribute much in 2025. You'll excuse this one because these were the players' first years. In the previous draft, they completely whiffed on the Keon Coleman pick, who was a healthy scratch in multiple games last year. Finished with 404 receiving yards. Yet this though, 112 of his 404 receiving yards came in one game. Defensive tackle Dwayne Carter was drafted in the top 100 as only played in 11 career games. In 2023, their top 100 picks were Dalton Kincaid, Osiris Torrance, and Dwayne Williams. All these guys are fine, though Kincaid has been the disappointment 3 years in. They whiffed on the Kyler Ewan pick in 2022. What's concerning is the Bills no longer run the AFC East like they've been doing since 2020, as the Pats are back on the rods. The window will soon shut if they don't maximize the generational quarterback, who turns 30 in May. Give Josh Allen an actual wide receiver. I like the DJ Moore trade. Even though they gave too much up for him, I still don't know if he's their wide receiver one. I really want this team to go get A.J. Brown, but the Falcons are a QB away. The Kirk Cousins era is officially over, as team is going to release him at the start of the league's new year. But the future is even murkier. There's reports saying that they're interested in signing Tua. Michael Penix Jr. is currently rehabbing from his third torn ACL, and before the injury, he looked overwhelmed and inconsistent. The fan scheme was already being non-committal about Penix as a starter. They're sitting on about $42 million in cap space, but that's a bit of an illusion. They just had to franchise tag Kyle Pitts to keep him from walking, and they're going to eat a significant dead cap hit from the Kirk Cousins release. They have money to spend. It's probably going to be used to find another solid QB because they don't seem to trust Penix. They do not have a first-round pick as a part of the James Pierce pick, who was recently arrested on serious charges, as it looks like his career is far done. Their first pick is until number 40 overall. If you put a top 15 QB on the team, they are favorites to win NFC South. Bijan is a top 3 running back in this league. Drake London is a certified wide receiver 1. I believe it's Stefanski. I think the Browns was just not the best situation from it to succeed, and I believe he's a better play caller than Zach Robinson. This team can win the division. It's all about the QB position. What are they going to get from the quarterback position? The Hawks are going into the window is built to last. The reigning Super Bowl champions who have defeated the Patriots 29-13 to secure a second Super Bowl in franchise history. Seattle has done an excellent job rebuilding this roster after trading Russell Wilson, primarily through the draft, and it has positioned them to contend for the long term. The Seahawks have built a strong young core that includes players like Byron Murphy, Devin Witherspoon, Zach Charbonnet, Derek Carr, Charles Cross, and Jackson Smith-Njigba. This foundation gives them talent on both sides of the ball, especially on defense where they were building a fast and aggressive unit for the future. At quarterback, Sam Darnold is currently on a very manageable team-friendly contract, which gives Seattle the flexibility to continue improving the roster around him. The team also has $60 million in cap space this offseason, which will likely be used to re-sign key free agents and maintain continuity from their championship roster. Seattle only has 4 picks in this upcoming draft, but 3 of those selections are inside the top 100, giving them an opportunity to add more impact players. Because of their young core, smart drafting, and financial flexibility, they aren't built to win now. They're built to contend for years to come. The Pats also go into the windows built last year. The Pats were the biggest surprise of last season, making the Super Bowl coming off a 4-13 season. With the rise of Drake May, I believe this team has a window that is built to last for years and years to come. They have $40 million in cap space, 11 picks in this draft with 3 in the top 100. They need to upgrade the receiving room in the O-line, and they will instantly be back in the mix for contention status next year. You just released Stephon Diggs. It is reported that they tried to trade a first and a third for A.J. Brown. I don't know how true these reports are. However, it seems like they want to get more receivers for Drake May. The Browns are a QB away. The Browns' defense was wasted last year. Myles Garrett had an MVP-level season. However, he was only rewarded 5 wins for it. I don't know what the Browns do offensively this offseason, especially the QB room, as the Browns' QBs last season threw for 16 touchdowns to just 18 interceptions. The QB room is a crowded mess of Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, and the remaining goes to Deshaun Watson. They need to revamp the offense, as coming into this draft they have 10 picks, 2 firsts for the top 100. The team nailed the draft last year besides the quarterbacks, as they picked Nathan Graham, Carson Schwarzenegger, who was the defensive rookie of the year, Quinshon Judkins, and Yoel Fannin. The foundation is there for this Browns team. They just need to fix all line and add some receivers, and figure out what to do at the quarterback position. The Texans is going to ascending timeline. Man, if the Texans made the Super Bowl last year, which they absolutely could have, they would be in the window built to last for sure. And honestly, you can argue that they're QB away. I wouldn't be mad if you wanted to put them in that category. If CJ Stroud plays a turnover-free game, the Texans win that game, and he definitely beat Denver, and they are in the Super Bowl. Stroud had played badly. Stroud has regressed badly since his rookie year. The offensive line isn't good. However, I still like the team around it, especially on defense. Will Anderson Jr., top 5 edge rusher in the league, just turned 24. Derek Stingley, a top 5 corner who also is 24, coming off another first-team All-Pro. Kamari Lassiter, who's 24, who's coming off a Pro Bowl season. Kalen Bullock, who's 22, coming off a Pro Bowl season. Jalen Petrie, who's 26, and one of the most underrated safeties in the league. On offense, you have Nico Collins, who's 26 and one of the 10 best receivers in the league. This is a team full of talent that is young. They have 9 picks in this draft and used a couple to trade for running back Evan Montgomery, and I like that trade a lot. They have 4 picks in the top 100. If CJ Stroud can find his rookie form, and the Texans can build an actual O-line around him, then I like this team's chances to compete for the Super Bowl in the future. The Chiefs going to, as long as he's under center. The Chiefs, for the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era, had a year from now. They started 0-2, rebounded by winning 5 of their next 6 games, but then completely collapsed, winning just 1 of their final 9 games, finishing the season on a 6-game losing streak. For the first time in years, Kansas City looked mortal. The offense has regressed over the past couple of seasons, largely due to lack of reliable weapons around Mahomes, and the defense is also taking a step back last year. The roster clearly needs some retooling. Mahomes needs some more help around him if the Chiefs want to get back to their dominant form. However, there's a reason Kansas City belongs this year, and as long as Pat Mahomes is under center and Andy Reid's Hahn plays on the sideline, the Chiefs will always be a threat to win the Super Bowl. each and every season. Mahomes is already building a resume that could make him the second greatest quarterback ever or even the GOAT when his career is over. 5 Super Bowl appearances, 3 Super Bowl wins, 2 league MVPs, and 3 Super Bowl MVPs. Kansas City has also proven they know how to retool roster. When they traded Tyreek Hill, many people thought their new championship window was closing. Instead, they used those assets to build depth across the roster and won another Super Bowl against Philly shortly after. If any organization has earned the benefit of the doubt when it comes to rebuilding around their superstar quarterback, it's the Chiefs. They just traded their all-pro corner Trent McDuffie, giving them an extra 3 picks in this draft. You have 9 total picks, 4 in the top 100, which includes 2 firsts. They have holes at running back, wide receiver, and defensive line that they need to address. Kelsey is expected to return, and I'm expecting this team to have a transition year next season. However, don't expect the Chiefs to be gone for too long. They will be right back at the very top soon. As long as Pat Mahomes is a quarterback of the Chiefs, their championship window is never closed. It's just temporarily cracked. The Cowboys go into ascending timeline. If the Cowboys had some sort of average defense, they are definitely playoff contenders. Despite them being stupid in the first place to not pay and trade a generational player like Micah, they had the best offense in the NFL last season, benefiting from them fleecing the Seahawks and George Pickett's trade, who emerged as a top 10 receiver last year. Jerry made a great move by signing Javonte Williams, who had a Pro Bowl level season last year. They have pieces here. CD is still a top 5 receiver in the league. Dak reminded everyone why he's one of the best QBs in the league. The offensive line is young and is good. The defense is a mess. However, they fired DC Matt Eberflus, and I like the new play caller they hired on that side of the ball. That's where it starts. Now I have 2 top 100 picks, which are 2 first-rounders, 1 for the Micah Parsons trade. They need to build a defense this draft. The Chargers go into ascending timeline. The Chargers are being built something special by Jim Harbaugh. Back-to-back 11-1 seasons, and I love the hire of Mike McDaniel to help turn around this offense. With the 2 young tackles returning healthy, a solid receiving room, the 4th most scats face this offseason, I believe they can fix that interior of the offensive line. They have 6 picks this draft. They're in the top 100. They have some young pieces with Marion Hampton, a steal in the draft with Orlando Gadsden, Lad McConkey, Joel Tuitulopu, who's coming off a 13-sack season, and Junior Golston. This is a sleeper team for me to at least make that as AFC Championship next year. This team is on the rise against be legit contenders very soon. The Jets. Despite the 3-14 season they had last year, I still believe the Jets are QB away with the way the roster looks offensively. You have Breece Hall, who got franchise tag, Garrett Wilson, who is amazing QB1 away from being a top 10 receiver in football, Adonai Mitchell, who has a lot of promise at the wide receiver 2, 2 young promising tackles with $88 million to spend this offseason. The reason why I really put this team here is because of their draft capital. They have a total of 5 first-round picks in the next 2 years' draft, with 4 picks in the top 100 in this year's draft, 11 picks total. If this team can get a QB and draft well, they will be playoff contenders very soon. The Panthers. This is controversial, but I'm putting them in there something there. For the first time since the Cam Newton era, Carolina has something. They finished with an 8-9 record, and despite that, they still made the playoffs, as they're one of the most confusing teams last year. You don't know which version of Panthers you get. 1 week they were good, 1 week they were bad. However, despite losing versus the Rams, they gave them a run for their money. I like this Panthers team, yet man, it just feels like they're so far, as the roster still has a lot of holes on it, and Bryce just hasn't shown me enough consistency yet. However, one thing about Bryce that I have seen is his clutch gene. 6 out of their 8 wins last season came in game-winning drives. After missing on their wide receivers with their last 2 picks before, Ted has flashed massive upside already as a number 8 pick and had 1,000 yards and 7 TDs and was the Rookie of the Year. Nick Sorden, who had 5 sacks, was solid last year. J.C. Horn is underrated CB1 in this league and had a great year last year. I like this team a lot. I like Dave Canales as a head coach. I just want to see more consistency from this Panthers team. The Titans also go into there's something there. There's something to build on for the Titans. Cam Ward, despite looking at the raw numbers and it not being too impressive, you turn on the tape and I love his potential. I like what I saw from the eye test from Cam Ward last year. Robert Saleh, I love the hire, in my opinion, especially with the hire of Brian Daboll as OC. There's something building in Tennessee. I like the sign shown from fourth-round pick Alec Moore. The roster needs a ton of work though. They have holes everywhere. They have the most cap space in the league this year with $9 million, 8 draft picks, 3 in the top 100. They need to build around Cam Ward. There is something here for this Titans scene. They can take another step next year and no doubt they will be in the setting time one. The Colts. This team is a QB way and they're in a tough position because what you do at the quarterback position, you traded 2 firsts for Sauce Gardner, meaning that you're going all. Daniel Jones is having a career year. Then he tears his Achilles. You overpay for him. How does he look coming back? This team is a QB way. Literally. We saw what they look like with Daniel Jones moving the ball and having a career year at the first half of last season. What do you do with Anthony Richardson, as it seems like he is going to be on the move this offseason? It's going to be interesting for the Colts. They are for sure a QB away. And last off, the Jags. The Jags are going into a 7-time run. I'm really bought in with the Jags team. Year 1 of Liam Cohen has completely shocked me with how fast he turned his Jags team around. After a disappointing 4-13 year the previous season, and a year specifically where it took a while for the offense to get going, and Travis Hunter not really doing much, was showing promise. Ryan Thomas Jr. rather down year. I can't wait to see what Liam Cohen does in year 2 with the team. They have 4 picks in the top 100 despite not having the first. 10 picks total. Trevor's only 26. The pieces on his team are there. BTJ, Trayvon Walker, despite having the down year, who I still believes is a solid player. Jerry and Jones, who is an underrated corner and had an underrated season last year. These guys are fast ascending into contender status. And that's my tier list. What do you guys agree with? What do you guys disagree with? Let me know down in the comments below. Please like this video, comment, subscribe, share, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.